Narayana Bhagavan Namaste. Guruvayurappa. Good morning and pranamam to all. With the blessings of our Punna Guruvayurappan, we are holding the fifth session of Narayaneeyam series. Today we are discussing Dashakam 3. We are continuing discussing Dashakam 3. Dashakam 3, as we discussed last time, it is about the qualities of a perfect Bhakta. It is Bhakta Swarupa Varnanam. And we'll be continuing from sloga number 5 of Dashakam 3. And before we start, Anju will start with an invocation.
गजाननं भूतगणादिसेवितं कपित्थजम्बूफलसारभक्षितम् उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारणं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजम् शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तयेत् कृष्णा गुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं कृष्णा गुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं कृष्णा गुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं
Anju, you can see the screen?
Yes. Okay.
So today we continue from sloga number 5. So just a quick recap of what we discussed last session on Dashaka 3. If you remember, in Dashakam 3 we are talking about the qualities of a perfect Bhakta, and Bhattathiri in the first couple of slogas spoke about how we should behave, or how we should try to attain Bhagavan, which includes Bhattathiri talking about Namajabam, talking about telling the stories of Bhagavan to others. He addressed meditation, which is doing dharana and dhyana on Bhagavan, and through that we attain samadhi state, which we touched upon, which is something we'll see again in Dashakam 4. But in Dashakam 3, Bhattacharya is addressing the activities that we need to do, including Namajapa, including doing a proper meditation on Bhagavan. And then Bhattacharya spoke about other bhaktas who have attained that state, like Narada Maharshi and different other sages who have attained Bhagavan by repeatedly doing this process. So Bhattacharya addressed the glories of such great people. And here Bhattacharya is further continuing from sloga 5 about bhakti and how a bhakta should behave. So starting off with sloga 5.
भवद्भक्तिस्पीदा भवतु मम सैव प्रशमयेत् अशेषक्लेशौखं न खलु हृदि सन्देहकणिका न चेद्व्यासस्योक्तिस्तव च वचनं नैगमवजो ഭവേന്മിഥ്യാരത്യാ പുരുഷവചനപ്രായമഖിലം. എനിക്ക് നിന്തിരുവടിയിലുള്ള ഭക്തി വർദ്ധിച്ചു വരേണമേ, അതുതന്നെ എല്ലാ സങ്കടങ്ങളെയും തീർത്തു തന്നുകൊള്ളും എന്ന വിഷയത്തിൽ മനസ്സിൽ തെല്ലുപോലും സംശയമില്ല തന്നെ. ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ വ്യാസന്റെ വാക്കും അവിടുത്തെ വാക്കും വേദങ്ങളിലെ വാക്കും എല്ലാം തെണ്ടി നടക്കുന്നവരുടെ വാക്കുപോലെ അസത്യമാണെന്ന് വരും.
So in sloga 5, Bhattacharya is addressing the mahima of bhakti and the glories that bhakti will give us as a bhakta. So he's starting off with Mama Bhavat Bhaktihi, my devotion to you, Guruvayurappa. He's requesting, he's praying to Bhagavan that Spida Bhavadu, may it grow more and more. That means let my bhakti to you grow more and more and reach that perfect state. That is what Bhattacharya is requesting. Sa eva prashamayed, that bhakti alone Bhattacharya knows, he's saying that bhakti that we are seeking for, that alone will eradicate my sufferings. Ashesha klesha aukam, the endless sorrows and sufferings that we face through our mind and and our body. All those sufferings will be only eradicated through that bhakti that I am seeking, and let it reach that perfection in my mind, hridi, in my mind. Sandeha kaniga nakalu. There is not a slightest doubt indeed in my mind. So Bhattacharya is 100% sure that with this bhakti, all his sufferings will be eradicated. That is the, that kind of a willpower and that kind of confidence is what every bhakta needs. So as we learn this sloka, we need to understand the qualities that a bhakta should show when going in the path of bhakti. So here Bhattacharya is 100% confident that all his sufferings will be eradicated with his bhakti to Guruvayoorappan. And now he is saying why he thinks that that is so. So he's saying that Nached, if it were not so, if that was not the case, if bhakti to you will not give me free of sufferings, will not make me free of sufferings, if that is not happening, then he is saying Vyasasya Ukti, that means the words that were spoken by sage Vyasa and the words that were spoken by Bhagavan himself. Tava cha vajanam, thy own words, that is the words of Bhagavan Krishna himself to Arjuna and to various other devotees that he has said. Tava cha vajanam, and he's saying the statements of Vedas, Naigama Vajaha, all the statements that we see that is written in the Vedas, all of them, Agilam, all of them, Bhavet Mithya, they would all become untrue. Just like Retya Purusha Vajana Prayam, like the street urchins' casual utterings, like the words of any random person in the street who blabbers nonsense. If it was not true, it will be just like that. Bhagavan's words will be just like that if it was not true. So he's saying 100% that is not the case. He's 100% sure that the words told by Bhagavan about bhakti will be 100% true. If that was not the case, it would be just like any others words that we see here from the street, which is not the case. So he's 100% sure that whatever the bhakti that he is practicing will take him to Bhagavan, and that confidence he has because these are the words of Bhagavan himself. So he's fully sure about it. So if we as a bhakta or a devotee also has doubts, we should understand that what we are trying to seek are the words of Bhagavan. So there is 100% surety that we will attain it. We will reach that state. So Bhagavan, Guruvayoorappan in Bhagavan Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he has specifically spoken about bhakti and bhakti yoga, how bhakti has to be, and that we will see as part of this sloka in Dashakam 3. So starting off with bhakti yoga, slokas 12, 12.3, 12.4.
ये त्वक्षरमनिर्देश्यम् अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गमचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थम् अचलं ध्रुवम् संनियम्येन्द्रियग्रामम् सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः.
Okay. So Bhagavan Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, in Bhakti Yoga, he says that those who worship the formless aspect of the absolute truth. So here Bhagavan is talking about not the form that Arjuna is seeing, the form of Krishna that he is seeing. He is addressing to his own Atma Swarupam, Bhagavan's Atma Swarupam, which is the Parabrahman itself, the Brahman that we talk about. So those who worship that formless aspect of the absolute truth, which is the pure consciousness, the Brahman, and but the qualities of it is attributeless. The Brahman is attributeless, but what it is basically the imperishable, that is the Brahman, which will never perish. It is the indefinable, because everything that we see around that we can define has originated from it. So therefore we cannot define the Brahman. It is indefinable. It is the unmanifesting, that means everything that we see around has manifested from it, and the Brahman is the essence of all of it. So that is why the Brahman is the unmanifest. It is the all pervading, that means it pervades everything that we see around, right? That's why it is Vishnu, which is all pervading. the unthinkable, that means with our limited mind and intellect, we cannot comprehend this Brahman, so it is unthinkable. And as we saw in the previous Dashakams, it is unchangeable. That means the Brahman is the constant. It is the change, the unchangeable. Whatever we see around, which is the universe, keeps on changing. It is changing. But the essence of it, which is the Brahman, that is the unchangeable. It is the eternal. That is, it is there since before time, or it is beyond time and space. Therefore, it is eternal. Kala Deshavadivyam, right? That is why it's Sanadana. And the immovable. We cannot think of it is never be destroyed, it is never be movable, right? That is the form of Bhagavan, the nirguna form of Bhagavan, the formless aspect, which is the Brahman. So those bhaktas who have restrained all the senses, that means our senses, we discussed this last session, we have our 5 senses through which we take in information, and our 6th sense is actually our mind. So we have the 5 jnanendriyas, and then we also have our mind. So those bhaktas who have restrained their senses, and by making their mind even minded, that means by focusing our mind only on to Bhagavan's Swarupam, right? They, such bhaktas, and they should also rejoice ever in the welfare of all beings. With that mindset, that means with restraining their senses and by making their mind even minded on Bhagavan, they should also seek for the welfare of all beings that they see around. Such people also attain me. That is what Bhagavan is saying about bhakti in Bhakti Yoga. So these are the words of Bhagavan. So if we practice this, Bhattathiri is saying, we will also definitely attain Bhagavan if this is the way how we are practicing our bhakti. Further, Bhagavan says in chapter 12 or in Bhakti Yoga, in the next slokas, Bhagavan further continues.
ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशितचेतसाम् मय्येव मन आदत्स्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवसिष्यसि मय्येव अतः न संशयः.
Bhagavan Krishna further continues to Arjuna that how a bhakta should behave. So he's saying, but those who worship me, those who worship Bhagavan, here when Bhagavan Krishna is using the term me, he is not referring to the individual Krishna. He is referring to the Atma Swarupam of Krishna, Bhagavan Krishna, that is the Brahman itself. Krishna himself is the Parabrahman. He is the embodiment of Parabrahman. So Krishna is referring to me, he is not referring to that individual. He is referring to that Parabrahman, which is the essence everywhere, which is the essence in us and the essence everywhere. So he's saying, but those who worship me, renouncing all actions in me, whatever actions they do, they renounce it to Bhagavan. That means they surrender. They do it with a state of surrender to Bhagavan without expecting their egocentric desires. So we do not attach our desires to our actions. So whoever does actions, renouncing all actions in Bhagavan, to that Brahman, and regarding me as the supreme goal. That means their supreme goal has to be to realize that Brahman, to realize their own inner truth. That this Brahman is not to be sought outside, it is inside us. And Bhagavan is saying their supreme goal has to understand that, to seek that supreme Brahman inside us. That should be their goal. And then they are meditating on me with single-minded devotion. We discussed this in the last session, where somebody meditates on Bhagavan with single-minded focus. So when we sit for meditation, as we said last time, vrittis, which are the change in thoughts, and the pratyay, the actual thought. Whenever we start to meditate, we'll see that we have different other thoughts coming in, and we practice by using our own awareness. We look at our mind and we bring the thought back to Bhagavan. Each time when our mind wanders, we bring it back to Bhagavan using our own awareness. As we repeatedly do this, it goes from dharana to dhyana state, and finally we reach the samadhi state. That is called yoga. Bhagavan says this is yoga, that chitta vritti nirodham, where you focus your mind and then surrender it completely to Bhagavan. And also, whatever actions we do it renouncing to Bhagavan, with Bhagavan as our supreme goal. For them whose minds are set on me, Bhagavan says, such people whose minds are set on Bhagavan, the consciousness is united with me. Here again, me refers to that Brahman, right? So for such individuals, Bhagavan says, swiftly, O Partha, O, Krishna, O Arjuna, I will be their savior. I will come to save them. Save them from this ocean of finite experiences of which is the samsara, the birth and death. Basically, Bhagavan will give them moksha, liberation to such people who have this kind of approach in life, who approach Bhagavan with bhakti in this way. For them, Bhagavan is saying that he will be their savior and will give them moksha. And further, Bhagavan says, fix your mind on me only. That means, as we discussed in the last session, we have to fix our mind on Bhagavan through meditation, through Nama Japa and through meditation. Fix our mind on Bhagavan and then surrender your intellect in me. And we also surrender our own buddhi, to Bhagavan with the mindset that Bhagavan will take care of us. Then thereafter you shall no doubt live in me alone. If you do that, then definitely you will have a life where you will live with Bhagavan. You will be carrying Bhagavan everywhere. So this is the bhakti yoga that Bhagavan is talking about. And Bhattadiri is saying that if I am 100% sure, because you said these words. Since Bhagavan has said these words, I am 100% sure that with the bhakti that I am trying to seek from you, Guruvayoorappa, I will be definitely taken out from this world of sufferings. All my physical and mental sufferings will be eradicated if I practice bhakti like this. That's what Bhattadiri is saying. So bhakti yoga, we need to understand what Krishna has advised bhakti yoga as. It is leading us from the saguna form, the form of Guruvayoorappan. So right now we all are in that state where we focus on the form of Guruvayoorappan, the saguna form of Guruvayoorappan, the Guruvayoorappan that we seek at Guruvayur. That is the same Guruvayoorappan in us. So we have to lead. Bhakti yoga will lead us from that devotion of the saguna form to the devotion of the Nirguna form. We will go from the Saguna form of Guruvayoorappan to the Nirguna form, which is the Brahman. That is Bhakti Yoga. When we say Bhakti Yoga, and this is what a Bhakta should try to seek in through the Saguna Aradhana, we have to go beyond the form of Bhagavan to that formless, which is the Nirguna Brahman. And that formless Guruvayoorappan is the Guruvayoorappan in us. That Guruvayoorappan, the formless, the absolute Brahman, is the Guruvayoorappan in us, which is our Atma Swarupam, and we should revel in that Guruvayoorappan. That is the Guruvayoorappan everywhere. That is what Bhagavan Krishna is talking about Bhakti Yoga, and that is what Bhattadiri is trying to seek, and also praying to Bhagavan Guruvayoorappan that he is blessed with that. So bhakti, basically, as we said before, it is pure love for the form of the Lord. So we start off bhakti with looking at Bhagavan's form, and then we transition from that form to that formless. And we saw this last time also. Whenever we attach our mind even as slightly to Bhagavan, like if you take one step, Bhagavan will take 10 steps towards us. That is the quality of bhakti. That is why it said that even in the previous Dashakam, Bhattadiri said that bhakti is more easier than jnana and karma. The same state that we seek here, we can reach it through Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga also. But the benefit of Bhakti is that our minds are tuned easily to Bhakti, because we have that, our minds can easily comprehend Bhakti, and therefore we can easily move in that path. So the essence of this sloga is that about Bhakti, Bhagavan Krishna has spoken about Bhakti, Bhagavan Vyasa has spoken about Bhakti, all the Vedas have spoken about bhakti, right? And all the other great gurus that we know, right? Gurus like Bhagavan Shankaracharya, Swami Vivekananda, Brahmana Maharshi, Swami Chinmayananda, all these great sages, they have spoken about bhakti. So therefore it will definitely be true. There is no other way, right? Because these great beings, they have spoken about it. Therefore Bhattadiri is 100% sure that this will be true. Bhattadiri has unwavering confidence, therefore. Because of that, Bhattadiri has full confidence on bhakti. And he says that this is what we as bhaktas should emulate. this confidence is the pillar for progress in life. With that confidence, if we approach spiritually and in our worldly pursuits, we will definitely be successful. That is the point we need to understand from this sloka. In Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya, he said in Viveka Chudamani, which something we already discussed before also about bhakti, he said, Moksha Karana Samagryam Bhakti Reva Gariyasi Swaswarupanusandanam Bhakti Ritya Vidiyade. That means among all the instruments and conditions necessary for liberation, for moksha, all the instruments and conditions that we can think of for moksha, Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, bhakti alone is supreme. The most supreme among them is bhakti. And what is that bhakti? He further says it is a constant attempt to live up to one's own real nature with single pointed devotion. That means focusing on that Nirguna Brahman, the absolute truth. So a constant attempt to always revel in our own true nature, which is our Atma Swarupam, which is the Guruvayoorappan in us. That is called bhakti. This is as mentioned by Shankaracharya. So again, Bhattathiri is addressing, saying that since all of these great beings have spoken about bhakti, he is 100% sure that his bhakti will lead him to moksha. Moving on to sloka number 6.
भवद्भक्तिस्तावत् प्रमुखमधुरा त्वद्गुणरसात् किमप्यारूढा चेदखिलपरितापप्रशमनी पुनश्चान्ते स्वान्ते विमलपरिबोधोदयमिळन् महानन्दाद्वैतं दिशति किमत പ്രാർത്ഥ്യമപരം. നിന്തിരുവടിയിലുള്ള ഭക്തി മാത്രമേ അവിടുത്തെ ആനന്ദരസത്താൽ തുടക്കത്തിൽ തന്നെ മധുരമായിട്ടുള്ളൂ. കുറച്ചു വളർന്നുവെങ്കിൽ എല്ലാ ദുഃഖങ്ങളെയും നിശേഷം ഇല്ലാതാക്കുന്നു. പിന്നെ അവസാനത്തിലാകട്ടെ മനസ്സിൽ തെളിഞ്ഞ ജ്ഞാനോദയത്തോട് ചേർന്ന പരമാനന്ദത്തിന്റെ ഐക്യത്തെ പ്രദാനം ചെയ്യുന്നു. ഇതല്ലാതെ വേറെ എന്തൊന്നാണ് ആവശ്യപ്പെടേണ്ടത്?
So Bhattathiri is further continuing about bhakti. He says, Bhavat bhakti tavat, devotion to thee, devotion to Guruvayoorappan, Tvat guna rasat, because of the joy of hearing the excellences, Bhagavan's excellences, Guruvayoorappan's excellences and his attributes, because of the joy that we get, Pramuga Madhura, that bhakti, when we start in that process of bhakti, initially it is sweet even in the beginning. So starting from the beginning itself, it is sweet. This whole bhakti, the whole stages of bhakti or the states of bhakti, it is sweet at all time, starting off from the first step of a stage itself. Then he is saying, Kim abhi aruda chet, even with a little progress, if bhakti grows even a little, Agila Paridaba Prashamani, it destroys all sorrows completely. So even with a small progress in our bhakti, we will see that it will start destroying all our sorrows. Because when we have bhakti, our mind automatically shifts from the focus of the world to focus on Bhagavan. When that happens, and then slowly it will focus on our own inner self. When that happens, we will definitely be, we will come out of this bondage of sorrows that our mind has. Further, punaha cha ande, and besides at the end also, so bhakti, when it begins it is sweet, and towards the end, as we go further progress on bhakti, and towards the end also, it is so ande, in the mind, it is, Bhattathiri is saying it is vimala paribodha udaya milat maha ananda advaitam. So that is the state of a bhakta when he goes to the perfection of bhakti. It will take you to supreme bliss arising from the dawn of pure knowledge of identity with that Brahman, with the non-dual Brahman. So it is again same as Sandra Ananda Avabodhatmakam, similar word is being used here. He's saying Vimala Paribodha Udaya Milat Maha Ananda, pure bliss Advaitam. That Advaitam means non-dual Brahman. Advaitam means non-dual, means there is not a second. Non-dual means there is not a second. And why is it called non-dual? It is called non-dual because Brahman is the only thing that pervades everywhere. There is not a second one. And it is said non-dual because when we say it is, if we say it as the only one, people can sometimes think that, okay, if it is the only one, there could be a second one, right? So since there is not a second one, that is why it said non-dual. There is not a second one. Non-dual means there is not a second one. There is only this Brahman. And that is Advaitam, that is Bhagavan. And his state is Ananda, which is pure bliss. And that is the state that a Bhakta will reach in the perfection of Bhakti. Dishadi, Bhakti confers. Bhakti confers with this state. And Bhattacharya is asking, Kim Adaha Prartyam Abaram, which means, other than this Bhakti, what is there to seek? There is nothing else for us to seek to Bhagavan. When we go and pray to Guruvayoorappan, this is what we need to seek. This Bhakti and this state that we reach at the end of Bhakti, that is what we want to say. Not the state. We want to seek for this Bhakti. And through that Bhakti, we will reach that state. So other than this Bhakti, what is there to seek? We all have this Bhakti to Guruvayoorappan. So our prayer to Guruvayoorappan should be that, bless me with more of this Bhakti. Let me be able to continue this Bhakti to you so that I can always revel in you. Right? That is the point that Bhattacharya is talking about here. So finally saying, greater than this, what is there to be asked for? So in Bhakti, from this sloga, we need to understand Bhattacharya is addressing 3 states of Bhakti, which we also spoke about this when we spoke about Dharana, Dhyana state to Samadhi state. We spoke about this last session also. So the 3 states, it is represented as 3 stages or 3 steps. Looks as if 3 steps, but it is actually not 3 steps. It is states of mind. These are the states of our mind when we go through Bhakti. So Bhakti is basically love, which is made generous. That is what Bhakti is. It is basically love for Bhagavan. And for that we are surrendering our mind to Bhagavan. And Bhagavan is infinite bliss, his beauty, his grandeur and attributes. So when we think of Guruvayoorappan and his beauty, our mind naturally gets attracted to it. So there is no need to force us, right? Like in Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, the easy path is Bhakti, because our mind can naturally get attracted to Guruvayoorappan because of his infinite bliss, his beauty, the grandeur and his attributes. We can easily surrender our minds to Bhagavan. So the state 1 or the step 1 that Bhattacharya is saying is where the Bhakta starts off with listening to the stories of Bhagavan, listening to the pastimes of the Lord, chanting the names of the Lord repeatedly with devotion, and meditating, doing a dharana. Meditation in the initial state is dharana, where our mind is focused on Bhagavan, and whenever our mind goes away, we bring it back to Guruvayoorappan. We are able to focus on the form of Bhagavan, on the beautiful form of Bhagavan, which is the Saguna form. That is the initial state of Bhakti. In this state itself, Bhakti becomes sweet. It becomes intimate, and the mind starts to experience joy. Right? That's the state 1. So Bhakti starting off with itself, it's sweet. The second state is Bhakta continues to repeatedly listen to stories of Bhagavan, and at this state, Bhakta is able to meditate, do a dhyana on the form of the Lord. Earlier it was a dharana. Your mind might go wander here and there. You will bring it back to Bhagavan again. In the second state, Bhakta repeatedly listens to stories of Guruvayoorappan, repeatedly chants Bhagavan's name, and now they have reached a state where they are able to meditate or do a dhyana on the form of the Lord with a single pointed focused mind. So in this state, the mind is fully focused. It is single pointedly focused on Bhagavan, on the form of Bhagavan. In that state, what will happen is all our raga and dvesha gets burned away. Raga and dvesha are our likes and dislikes. We discussed it last time. Those gets burned away, and in this state we will no more be identified with the body. Our mind is detached from our body, so we won't have any of our inclinations of our body. Our senses might be wandering to many things. That inclination will be burned away when we reach state 2. Okay, and the final state, or the last state that Bhattacharya is talking about, which is something we saw in the state of Samadhi, where Bhakta is in the state of being. State of being means Bhakta understands that Bhagavan that you are seeking outside is inside you, or that Bhakta becomes Bhagavan. That is the state called knowing by being. Knowing by being means in this state, earlier you were trying to use your mind to attain Bhagavan. You are focusing your mind to one thing, to Bhagavan, and trying to attain him. In this state, there is no more mind. The mind has dissolved because you yourself understand that you are that Bhagavan and that is radiating in you, right? So there is no more thoughts. In this state, there is no more thoughts, there is no more mind, and this state is where the Bhakta, the Bhakti, and the Lord all become one. In this state, as seen before, the Bhakta, the Bhakti that the Bhakta has, and Bhagavan, all of it becomes one. This is knowing by being. This is the Advaita Bhava, Advaita state. So again, these are not technically stages, different stages. These are states of our minds as we progress in bhakti, and we all can perfect each of these states. We can perfect state 1 completely, we can do perfection of state 2 completely, we can also do perfection of state 3. And somebody who has done the perfection of each of these states is Hanuman Swami, is an example of someone who has perfected each of these states. So when you look at the pinnacle, the perfection of these three states, of the three states that we just saw, the perfection or the pinnacle of these three states is exhibited by Hanuman Swami. That is, state 1 is where Hanuman Swami listens to stories of Bhagavan, pastimes of the Lord Rama, chants the names of Lord Rama with devotion, and meditates on his beautiful form of Lord Rama, the Saguna form of Lord Rama. In this state, bhakti becomes sweet. This is the Dasa Bhava of Hanuman. When Hanuman is as a Dasa to Lord Rama, this is the Dasa Bhava, where Hanuman is identified with the body, but that body is surrendered completely to Lord Rama. His body, mind, and intellect is completely surrendered to Lord Rama, and through this, Hanuman is attaining Lord Rama. This Bhava is called Dvaita Vedanta. This is the focus in Dvaita Vedanta, where you have Bhagavan's form and you as the individual. We will be in a Dasa Bhava, identified as a Dasa to Bhagavan, and we surrender completely to that Lord. This is Dvaita. State 2 is where the Bhakta meditates on the form of the Lord, again with single pointed focused mind. So Hanuman is focusing on Lord Rama's form, and in this state Hanuman is no more identified with body. Hanuman is in that meditative state where he is identified as the Jiva in him, and he understands that the Jiva in him is a part of Lord Rama. So he knows that the Jiva that he has, that is essentially a part of this infinite Brahman, the Lord Rama, right? That is the philosophy of Vishishta Advaita Vedanta. So this is Dvaita Vedanta, this is Vishishta Advaita Vedanta, and the state 3 is Bhakta in the state of being where there are no thoughts. That means Hanuman in his Atma Swarupam. When Hanuman is in his Atma Swarupam, he is one with Lord Rama. In this state, Lord Rama and Hanuman are one. This state is the Advaita Vedanta. So each of these, this is the perfection of each of these states, and here there is no hierarchy. There is no hierarchy in these states. Each of these states are having the same status because each of these states will allow you to attain Bhagavan in different ways. And there is no hierarchy in these states. And Hanuman is an example of who has demonstrated all these three states in perfection. And we can all seek Bhagavan in each of these ways. Moving on to Sloka 11.
विधूय क्लेशान् मे कुरु चरणयुग्मं धृतरसं भवत्क्षेत्रप्राप्तौ करमपि च ते पूजनविधौ भवन्मूर्त्यालोके नयनम् अथ ते पादतुलसी परिघ्राणे घ्राणम् श्रवणमपि ते चारुचरिते. രോഗങ്ങൾ മാറ്റി എൻ്റെ രണ്ടു കാലിനും നിന്തിരുവടിയുടെ ക്ഷേത്രത്തിലെത്താനും, കൈയിന് നിന്തിരുവടിയുടെ പൂജ ചെയ്യാനും, കണ്ണിന് നിന്തിരുവടിയുടെ തിരുവുടൽ കാണുവാനും, പിന്നെ മൂക്കിന് നിന്തിരുവടിയുടെ തൃപ്പാദത്തിലെ തുളസിയുടെ പരിമളം മുകരുവാനും, കാതിന് നിന്തിരുവടിയുടെ മധുര കഥ കേൾക്കുവാനും ഉത്സാഹമുണ്ടാക്കി തരണേ.
So Bhattathiri is now further continuing about talking about bhakti and how his bhakti should be, or he is essentially telling us all how we should be act in bhakti. So he says that Kleshan Viduya me, removing all my afflictions, all my sufferings that I'm having in my mind and in my body. So, as we said last time, Bhattathiri is not just having the physical ailment, he's also having the mental ailment, which is he's unable to focus on Bhagavan due to the physical ailment that he's having. He's not able to sit idle and focus on Bhagavan. His mind is wandering everywhere because of the pain and the sufferings. So, he's having both mental illness and physical illness, and he's asking Bhagavan, or he's praying to Bhagavan to remove all my afflictions, and he's saying the different ways he will approach, he will get that. He will try to attain Bhagavan through different ways, which is also something we all as bhaktas try to seek for. First he is saying, Me charana yugmam bhavat kshetra prapto. I will use my pair of feet. I will use my pair of feet in reaching thy temple, in reaching your temple. So we should understand it as we will be visiting Bhagavan. We will be going to Guruvayur and seeking Guruvayoorappan. That is one of the meanings that we should understand here. There is also an inner meaning here, which we will see in the next slides. So we will use our feet to reach Bhagavan, the divine locations where Bhagavan is, the temple of Bhagavan, which is Guruvayur, and every other great places where Bhagavan is there, the deity is there. Karam apicha te pujana vidau, and with my using my hands, Bhattathiri is saying, using my feet I will visit you, Bhagavan. Using my hands I will worship you with rituals. That is, I will do a puja and worship you with rituals, Bhagavan. So the puja that we do in our at our home with Bhagavan in front, that is what Bhattacharya is talking about, that we need to do this. And this puja could even be doing a salutation to Bhagavan with our folded hands. That itself is a puja to Bhagavan, right? So he's saying that with his hands he will worship Bhagavan. Then he's saying, Nayanam bhavat murti aloge. I will use my eyes in seeing thy auspicious form. I will use my eyes to see you, Bhagavan. My eyes will be used to always get a darshan of you, right? So we going to Guruvayur and taking a darshan of Guruvayoorappan, that is one thing that we need to understand. And for all of these, there are inner meanings that we will see in the next slide. So going to Bhagavan and looking at Bhagavan's auspicious form, that thinking about Bhagavan's auspicious form, that is what we need to understand here. Adakranam te pada tulasi parikrane. And Bhattacharya is saying, I will use my nose to enjoy the fragrance of the tulasi leaves placed at thy feet. So the tulasi leaves that are placed at Bhagavan's feet, I will use my nose to always enjoy that fragrance. Just like how we go to Guruvayur temple, we will get the fragrance of Kalabam, that itself will change our mindset. You know what, the pain that we have in us gets dissolved when we just enter Guruvayur. He's saying that I will use my nose in enjoying the fragrance of the tulasi leaves placed at thy feet. Then Bhattacharya is saying, Sravanam, and I will also use my ears, te charu charide abhi, in listening to the accounts of your wonderful deeds and excellences. So I will use my ears always to continuously listen to your great stories, your glories. That means including listening to Bhagavatam, listening to Narayaneeyam, or all the stories of Bhagavan. I will use my ears to dedicate it to that. That is what Bhattacharya is saying here. Guru, please conduct in such a manner that Dhrudarasam, that my senses may be delighted. So he is saying that he will conduct himself in such a manner. He will conduct his senses in such a manner such that they will be always be delighted by doing these activities. And through that, he will, Bhagavan, he's saying he's praying to Bhagavan to remove me all of my afflictions, all my mental and physical afflictions. Right? So what Bhattacharya is talking about here is, this is a slide that we have seen before. We said this before, that we have, when we look at our mind, we have our subjective mind, which is our buddhi, and we have our objective mind, which is manas. So we take in information through our senses. These are our jnanendriyas, ears, skin, eyes, tongue and nose. Through this we take in information. They go to our objective mind, and for us, we have, in between our subjective and objective mind, we have egocentric desires, and we also have vasanas that are generated in us through our past karmas. So when we take in information through our senses, they go through our objective mind, and then they get attached to our egocentric desires and vasanas, and then we exhibit it through our karmendriyas, which are vocal cord, legs, hands, genital organs, and anus. We perform actions through our karmendriyas. So what Bhattathiri is talking about here is he's picking three of our most important jnanendriyas, which are ears, eyes, and nose, and he's also picking two of our most important karmendriyas, which are legs and hands. So he's saying that he will attach our ears, eyes, nose to Bhagavan, and also our legs and hands to Bhagavan. So that means we are surrendering our senses to Bhagavan so that we get bhakti, and he knows that through that, when he practices it more and more, his afflictions, both his physical and mental afflictions, will be removed. So first thing we need to understand here, the first thing Bhattathiri said here is, using his feet, I will try to reach your kshetra, your temple, which is Guruvayur. So kshetra technically means temple. Guruvayur is a kshetram. It also means our own shariram. So the real temple is the temple in us. Our body is our temple where Bhagavan resides. Bhagavan resides in Guruvayur. As we said before, this Bhagavan, Guruvayoorappan, is residing in us also. He is residing in us. So our shariram itself is the temple. So when he says, I will use my feet to visit you, your kshetra, we should understand that he will always be reveling in the Guruvayoorappan in us, inside us. Bhattathiri is asking that he will always continuously meditate on that Guruvayoorappan in us. And this kshetra can be understood as anything. So shariram is a kshetra, your workplace is a kshetra, the universe itself is a kshetra. So wherever Bhagavan resides, that is a kshetra. So let's say if you take Bhagavan to your workplace, that becomes your kshetra. And you can assume that as the kshetra and carry Bhagavan there and go there with that mindset. So wherever Bhagavan resides or wherever we take Bhagavan, that becomes kshetra. And therefore the kshetra that Bhattathiri is talking about is nothing but our own shariram and everything that we see around. So the mindset should be, wherever I go with my feet, wherever I am going, I will take you there, Bhagavan, and I will consider it to be your Guruvayur temple itself, and I will perform my actions as if I am performing my actions to you, Guruvayoorappa. That is the point we need to understand here. Then he's saying, Bhattathiri is talking about hands. He says, worshipping thee with rituals. That means with my hands, I will perform puja to you, which is same as whatever actions we perform with our hands, we do it as an offering to the Lord. So it is not just puja that we perform at home or to the idol of Guruvayoorappan. It is whatever we do with our hands, with our karmendriyas, which are the hands and feet, we will do it as an offering to the Lord. That is the point we need to understand here. With the eyes, we will be seeing Bhagavan's auspicious form, which is same as whatever I see, I will try to see the good things, that is Bhagavan, right? When you see something, when we know that Bhagavan is there, then that is what we will try to see, right? And that we have that understanding, right? We have our mind should be able to understand where Bhagavan reflects. So I will try to see things where Bhagavan reflects with my eyes. That's what Bhattathiri is saying. Same thing for the nose. And finally, he's saying, with my ears, I will continuously listen to your glories, your excellences. Here I put an example of Brahmasri Anyam Madhavan Nambudri, who held a lot of Bhagavata Saptahams at Guruvayur, and a lot of devotees were blessed to hear Anyam Madhavan Nambudri Swami, and they were all great bhaktas of Guruvayoorappan. So listening to stories of Bhagavan through great acharyas like Anyam Nambudri and many others that we have around. So Bhattathiri is saying that he will put his ears in that mode of where we will continuously listen to Bhagavan's glories and his excellences. Through this, what is happening? Through this, we are conditioning our senses, our indriyas, we are conditioning it onto Bhagavan. The input, whatever intake that we have to our mind is completely of Bhagavan's nature, and that when we continuously do that, we start reflecting that. Our nature also will start reflecting that Bhagavan, right? Our own personality and our traits, our mind will reflect the nature of Guruvayoorappan. That is what Bhattathiri is referring to here. So again, the slide that we have seen before. So when you attach your indriyas, jnanendriyas to Bhagavan, by repeatedly doing that, what happens is the ego that was there between our subjective mind and objective mind gets extinguished. It is no more there. our subjective mind and objective mind are in union. That means whatever our objective minds take in, our subjective mind is able to rationally look at it and make proper logical decisions. And through that, our vasanas are also getting reduced. Our previous vasanas gets extinguished. Whatever new vasanas that will be generated will be the vasana of Guruvayoorappan. And through that, we will be able to do proper intelligent action, which will result in vasana reduction or the destruction of our vasanas. So that is the point we need to understand from this sloka. And Bhattathiri specifically addressed the main jnanendriyas, which are ears, eyes, and nose, and the two main karmendriyas, which are our legs and hands, to achieve the state. Moving on to sloka 8.
प्रभूदाधिव्याधि प्रसभचलिते मामकहृदि त्वदीयं तद्रूपं परमसुखचिद्रूपमुदीयात् उदञ्जद्रोमाञ्चो गलितबहुहर्षाशुनिवहो यथा विस्मर्यासं ദുരുപശമപീഠാപരിഭവാൻ. വളരെയേറെ മനോദുഃഖങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ടും രോഗങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ടും വല്ലാതെ ഇളകിവശായിട്ടുള്ള എൻ്റെ മനസ്സിൽ സാന്ദ്രാനന്ദാവബോധാത്മകമായ നിന്തിരുവടിയുടെ ആ ദിവ്യ വിഗ്രഹം തെളിഞ്ഞു വിളങ്ങേണമേ. കോൾമയർ കൊണ്ടുകൊണ്ടും ആനന്ദ കണ്ണീർ ധാരധാരയായി ഒഴുക്കിക്കൊണ്ടും അടക്കാനാവാത്ത രോഗപീഠകളെ അങ്ങനെ തീരെ ഞാൻ മറന്നു പോകേണമേ.
So this is a very important or very special sloga. Bhattathiri is talking about Bhagavan's idol or Bhagavan's Atma Swarupam, which is Bhagavan in us. Bhattathiri is saying, Prabhuda Adi Vyadi Prasabha Chalide Mamaga Hridi. In my mind, Bhattathiri's mind, which is violently agitated by innumerable mental and physical afflictions. So Bhattathiri's mind is in a state where it is constantly agitated because of both his mental afflictions and his physical afflictions. He's suffering from the physical afflictions of the paralysis, and because of that, his mental state is also unstable because he is not able to focus on Bhagavan, and is completely in a state of like a depressed state, and he wants to what he's praying to Bhagavan is to get to a state where he can focus on Bhagavan. He's not even able to do that, which at this state many of us are easily able to do it, but Bhattathiri is unable to do it because of his physical pains. So he's saying Twadiyam tat rupam parama suga chit rupam. So he's talking about the nature of Guruvayoorappan. This is the same word, Sandra Ananda Avabodhatmakam, same reference to Bhagavan's form. Here Bhattathiri is addressing the Guruvayoorappan, the idol at Guruvayur, which is nothing but the supreme bliss and consciousness, right? Which we said before, and which is nothing but the consciousness in us. The Atma Swarupam in us is the same as the Atma Swarupam of Guruvayoorappan, and we need to understand that. So he is saying your form Guruvayoorappa, which is of the nature of supreme bliss, Ananda, Parama Sugha, Anandam, and Chitrupam, it is consciousness. And Bhattathiri is again praying to Bhagavan, Udiyat, may it manifest itself, Udanjat Romanjaha, and when that happens through bhakti, when that Bhagavan manifests in us, when we understand that, or when let's say we go to Guruvayur and get a darshan of Guruvayoorappan, and as we continuously do it and we understand that Guruvayoorappan is the Guruvayoorappan in us, we will get that excitement, horripilation all over. Right? This is kind of romanjam. We get that romanjam when we see Guruvayoorappan, and continuously being in that state, we'll have this exciting horripilation all over. And he's saying, Galida Bahu Harsha Asru Nivaha. In that state of extreme ecstasy, extreme joy, we'll be filled with tears, which will be flowing down profusely. This is just like the state when we get a darshan of Guruvayoorappan. In that state, we'll be in that state where we'll be filled with tears of joy, ecstasy. That is the state that Bhattathiri is referring to here, and that is a state he wants to achieve also through bhakti. And in that state, he says, Durubashama Pida Paribhavan. All my endless woes caused by my ailments, which are very difficult to cure, which he already addressed, the sufferings that Bhattadiri currently has, which are very difficult to cure. He says, Yada Vismaryasam. In that state, I may forget completely without any effort. When I reach that bhakti state, when Bhagavan blesses us with that bhakti, we will completely forget all our sufferings, and it will happen without any effort. We don't have to put any special effort to do that. Just like how in a state where we attain Bhagavan, in that state, that happiness will come to us naturally with tears of joy, and we will forget all our sufferings in that moment. So Bhattadiri is praying that let all my sufferings, both my mental and physical sufferings, let me forget them without any effort through this bhakti. And it will happen like that. When you have that bhakti to Guruvayoorappan, it will automatically, without any effort, will remove us from our sufferings, and we'll forget that. And Bhattadiri is praying for that. So the greatest suffering that we can think of, so we definitely, suffering can come in different ways. Suffering is physical ailments or any tragedy that happens in our life, that is suffering. But the greatest suffering is that the suffering arising from the mind. When such sufferings happen in our life, our mind gets completely attached to that suffering, and our mind continuously thinks of that suffering again and again, right? That is the greatest suffering, the suffering that is arising from our own mind. When an external situation happens which is beyond our control, our mind gets attached to that and keeps on attaching to that suffering, and we continuously suffer based on that and through our mind. That is the greatest suffering. So this is just like we saw last time. We said the thoughts that arise in us are just like waves that arise in ocean, and the waves keeps on coming again and again. These waves are essentially called vrittis, right? And they create a pratyay, which is the thought. In this case, the thought is the suffering that we are experiencing. And what happens is that our mind gets attached to that suffering. That means our mind is constantly thinking about that suffering. That means it is attached to that vishayam. It is called vishaya bodham. So our true nature, our bodham, which is consciousness, our true nature is not that. Our true nature is infinite bliss, which is the Ananda, Paramananda Swarupam, which is Bhagavan itself. That's our true nature. That is just like deep ocean, where the silence that we see in deep ocean, that is our true state. However, our mind has now attached to that suffering that we are experiencing, and because of that, this is reflecting. Our mind is now reflecting the suffering. So if you look at our mind, it is basically reflecting the suffering because it is attached to that suffering. And therefore, such a mind is called a mind that is attached to Vishayams, Vishaya Bodham. So our Bodham is like the Vishayas, the events that are happening, right? That is the Bodham in us. However, our true nature is not that. Our true nature is when all these sufferings, all these waves end, and then the calmness that we see, which is in the deep ocean, that is our true nature. Our true nature is that awareness in us is pure bliss, which is absolute consciousness, which is the Guruvayoorappan. That is our true nature. In that state, there is no mind. That is a state where there is no mind, where we know our own nature. And how do we attain that state? We saw that in last session. Whatever our mind is attached to, we replace it with Bhagavan. If you are having a suffering, you say that is coming from Bhagavan to change a situation in me, to change me, to make me better. I'm having this situation, and I will use this situation to serve you better. This whatever scenario that has happened in my life, I will use this scenario to understand you and know you better, Guruvayoorappa. That if we continue to do that, if you change the suffering to Guru and attach it to Bhagavan, our mind automatically becomes attached to Bhagavan, and as we repeatedly do it, we'll reach this pure bliss, absolute consciousness state, right? So Bhattadiri is saying that, and for that, what needs to happen? We need to be victorious. The real victory is that we have to face the suffering and conquer the suffering. Bhagavan has given all of us, Bhattadiri is saying that Bhagavan has given all of us the will and the awareness to face every suffering that happens in our life. And that is by surrendering them to Bhagavan. So we need to face those sufferings and conquer them. That is the sufferings that are arising from our own mind. And to do that, the mind needs to be attached to Lord. To get this victory, to face and conquer the sufferings that our mind is attached to. For that, we need to tune our mind from the suffering to Bhagavan. We need to attach it to Bhagavan, which is the nature of supreme bliss consciousness, which is the Bhagavan's idol at Guruvayur. So Guruvayoorappan, the idol at Guruvayur is that state. So attach it to Guruvayoorappan, continuously do that, and as we repeatedly do it, we understand that Guruvayoorappan is residing in us, and then we will automatically be in this state of pure bliss, absolute consciousness. And Bhattathiri in the last several Dashakams referred to this supreme bliss consciousness at many points, and he referred it to as Ananda, but he also used another term, which is, if you see even in this Dashakam, he has used the term Rasa, so it is Chit Rasa Ardram. In Dashakam 1, he used the term Rasa, Chit Rasa Ardram. In Dashakam 1, he also used the term Parama Rasa Sudambodhi Pure Rameran. So Rasa term came there. He also said Kirtana Rasa Asakta in Dashakam 2. He said Chit Ardratvam. Again, Rasa is there in that sloga also, which is the Rasa Adrada, again in Dashakam 2. Twat Guna Rasad in Dashakam 3. Drida Rasam in Dashakam 3. So he is using the term Rasa because he is saying that this supreme bliss, Ananda, that we experience, it is also Rasa. Rasa means sweet. So he is not, the Ananda term cannot capture the sweetness of Bhagavan. So in order to capture the sweetness of Bhagavan, which is this state, is not just pure bliss, it is also very sweet, in experience. So that is why he is using the term Rasa to capture the sweetness of this pure bliss. And further, this Rasa also means it is a Rasayanam. It is a medicine for eliminating the suffering. So Bhagavan's Rubam, Bhagavan's Chit Rubam, which is the conscious Brahman Rubam, the formless Rubam, and even the form Rubam of Guruvayoorappan, Bhagavan's Chit Rubam is the Rasayanam. It is the medicine for eliminating the sufferings that we are having in the world. Both our physical and mental sufferings, the Rasayanam, the medicine to eliminate those sufferings is Bhagavan's Chit Rubam. That is why the term Rasa is being used continuously in these slokas. So this is what we need to understand from sloga 8. Moving on to sloga 9.
Marudgehadhisha Tvai khalu paranjopi sukhino Bhavat snehi soham Subahu paritapye jakimidam Akirtiste ma bhut varadagada prashamayan Bhavad bhaktotam sam chadidi kurumam kamsadamana. ഗുരുവായൂരപ്പ, നിന്തിരുവടിയുടെ പേരിൽ വിമുഖന്മാരായിട്ടുള്ളവർ പോലും സുഖമായി തന്നെ ഇരിക്കുന്നു. അവിടുത്തെ ഭക്തനായ ഈ ഞാൻ വളരെയേറെ സങ്കടപ്പെടുകയും ചെയ്യുന്നു. ഇതെന്താണ്? ഭക്താഭിഷ്ടപ്രദനും കംസഹന്താവുമായ ഭഗവാനെ, നിന്തിരുവടിക്ക് ദുഷ്കീർത്തി ഉണ്ടാവാൻ ഇടവരരുത്. രോഗമെല്ലാം തീരെ മാറ്റി എന്നെ വേഗത്തിൽ അവിടുത്തെ ഭക്തന്മാരിൽ അഗ്രേസരനാക്കി തീർക്കണമേ.
So this is again a very important sloga, and this is a sloga that is actually directed to normal bhaktas like us. Bhattathiri is actually making a subtle wit on normal bhaktas like us. So this is a very important sloga for us to understand. So Bhattathiri is saying, first of all, he is addressing Guruvayoorappan as Marut Geha Adisha, O Lord of Guruvayur, which is a term we have seen before also. Marut Geha Adisha, we'll see the meaning once later. Tvai, towards thee, towards you, Guruvayoorappa. Paranjaha Abhi, even those who are indifferent, Suginaha Kalu, are living happily indeed. So we will see people around who have no bhakti to Bhagavan, who do not even think of Bhagavan, but they are living a happy life. They are not having any suffering. They are living a very happy life, and we'll see that everywhere. So Bhattathiri is making a complaint, but again this is a sloga that we need to understand very carefully, because Bhattathiri is a genius and he is actually addressing the thought process in normal bhaktas like us. So this is not a complaint directly from Bhattathiri. He is talking about how normal bhaktas would talk to Guruvayoorappan. So we will see people who do not have bhakti, who are indifferent but living happily around. Whereas now Bhavat Snehi sa aham, whereas I, who am devoted to thee, Bhattacharya is saying, I am your devotee, I am completely devoted to you. Subahu paritapyecha, I am suffering too much. Even though I am a huge devotee, I am a big devotee to you, Guru Vayoorappa, I am suffering too much. Kima idam, what is this? How come? How come this is the state that I am your bhakta and I am suffering, and I see people around who are not your bhakta, but they are living a very happy life? Why this state? Varada, O bestower of boons, who the Bhagavan is the bestower of boons to everyone. Varada, te to thee, Akirtihi Mabut, let no disrepute come to thee. Because of this anomaly, because of this situation where bhaktas are suffering and the others who do not have any bhakti are living happily, let no disrepute come to you. Let no, that is what Bhattacharya is saying, okay, to Guru Vayoorappan. And he is saying, Kamsa Damana, O slayer of Kamsa, the one who destroyed the ego of Kamsa, Gadabaram Prashamayan, eradicate all my afflictions that I am currently having quickly. Chadidi Kurumam, quickly make me eradicate afflictions from me. Bhavat Bhakta Uttamsam, make me your best of your devotees, such that you can make me the greatest devotee of you. And Bhagavan at the end blessed Bhattacharya with that. That's why we are all listening to Narayaneeyam, because Bhagavan graced Narayana Bhattathiri with his as his greatest devotee. Right? So Bhattacharya is making that prayer to Guru Vayoorappan. Now this sloka has to be understood very carefully, because this is actually Bhattacharya's way of making us aware of our prayers, how we pray to Guru Vayoorappan, and so that we can change our mindset. So first of all, he said Marudgeha Adisha, which is Guru Vayoorappan. The name for Guru Vayoorappan is Marudgeha Adisha. So we said this many times before. Guru Vayur is our own Shariram, right? Guru Vayur is our own Shariram, which is also the universe. Guru Vayur also represents our Shariram and also the universe. As we said before, the Kshetra. Kshetram is, temple is the Kshetram. Our Shariram is also a Kshetram. This universe is also a Kshetram. Here Guru and Vayu, we said this before, Guru is that Brahman, the supreme one, the most important one, Guru. And Vayu is the Prana, the cosmic energy, that Prana that is the life in us. That is the same Prana everywhere. So Guru Vayoorappan, Guru is Brahman, Prana is the universal Prana, which is the Shakti. And the place that they reside is our Shariram, or in the universe. That's where they reside. So the addition of that, the Lord of that is Guru Vayoorappan. So he's saying Marudgeha Adisha is the Lord of the place where the universal Prana flows. That is the meaning of Marudgeha Adisha. He is the Lord of the place where the universal Prana flows. The place where the universal Prana is flowing for us is our Shariram. So he is the Lord of our Shariram. From a universal context, the Prana is flowing through this universe. The universe is manifesting from that Bhagavan. Therefore, the Prana is flowing through this universe. So he is the Lord of that universe. So the Marudgeha Adisha is basically Lord of the universe and also the Lord of us, which is Guru Vayoorappan, which is the meaning that we need to understand. So here Bhattacharya is addressed Kamsa, and what we need to understand here is that when we have a suffering in our life, we all make this prayer to Guru Vayoorappan, that Bhagavan, why am I suffering? Typically when we get a suffering only we think about it. When we get a blessing we don't think about it, but when we get a suffering we always complain to Bhagavan that why am I suffering, and we may even say that while others are not suffering, right? And this is the state of a normal bhakta, and Bhattacharya is making a subtle wit on such bhaktas that we need to be aware of. So when a suffering happens, Bhagavan takes away that suffering, right? And Bhagavan has done that. He has done that for many people. So Bhattacharya gave an example, very careful example of Kamsa, and we need to understand why. So for example, starting off with Prahalada, if you see, Prahalada's life was filled with sufferings. He always had sufferings in his life, right? But whenever a suffering came, what he did was he did not attach his mind to that suffering. He attached his mind to Guru Vayoorappan. Even though there is suffering in his life, what Prahalada did was he replaced that suffering with the thought of Guru Vayoorappan, right? And when he continuously did that, Guru Vayoorappan came to rescue him, gave him and helped Prahalada. If you see the example of Kamsa was continuously in fear of Krishna, and he was always in anger with Krishna. He had always fear, anger, and hate to Guruvayurappan, to Krishna, right? But if you see that whenever that emotion came for Kamsa, whenever that emotion of fear, anger, and hate came, he also attached it to Guruvayurappan only, right? He was also fully attached to Guruvayurappan. If you look at Kamsa's mind, that was always attached to Krishna, right? Even through fear, the emotion was basically fear, anger, and hate, right? If you look at the state of Hiranyakashipu, that is also the same. Hiranyakashipu, he was always in anger. He was always carrying an ego. He was always having a hatred to Guruvayurappan. So all those times in his life, he was thinking about Bhagavan only with the emotion of anger, ego, and hatred, right? So if you see all these different individuals, Bhagavan gave them all blessings. For example, for Kamsa and Hiranyakashipu, Bhagavan gave them moksha directly, right? So Bhagavan blessed them with moksha directly. Why? Because each of these individuals, even though they are all different in the way they approached Bhagavan, they were always thinking about Bhagavan. Their minds were fixed on Guruvayurappan. So that is the point we need to understand. If our mind is attached to Bhagavan, and if we are repeatedly thinking of Bhagavan, and the way we should be looking at it is the example of Prahlada, Bhagavan will come us to bless us. That is the point we need to understand. And further, there are some other things that we need to understand as a bhakta, which we will see now. Here, as I said before, Bhattathiri is, in a subtle way, he is pointing out a complaint that ordinary people typically tell Bhagavan. This is the complaint. Here, Bhattathiri spoke about a complaint that others are doing really well, who do not have bhakti, they are doing really well. I, who is very devoted to you, I am suffering, right? This is the complaint that many normal bhaktas typically tell Bhagavan. Why am I just suffering? That even just that statement itself is just like that, right? So Bhattadiri is actually making a subtle wit on Bhagavan. He's actually making fun of Bhagavan, showing him how his bhaktas typically tell things to him. And this is due to his love, devotion, and closeness to Bhagavan. So by this state of Bhattadiri, Bhattadiri is already very close and very much devoted to Guruvayurappan. And he has taken that freedom to make fun of Guruvayurappan. And if you really see in Narayaneeyam, Bhattadiri is actually having a conversation with Guruvayurappan. He's talking to Guruvayurappan. So he's making a subtle fun at Guruvayurappan as to how his typical bhaktas complain of situations. And what we should understand from this is a true bhakta will never complain and compare. A true bhakta will always accept the situations that will come in their life as it is coming from Bhagavan, and he will use that situation to go to Bhagavan more and more, right? So a true bhakta will never complain and compare. Compare is also very important. A true bhakta should never compare their state with somebody else's state, because we never know what is the state of another person. Even though they may not be showing the bhakti, we never know how their mind is actually, right? We never know what situations they have faced. So a true bhakta will never complain and compare. And the next point is that only the courage to face pain, that is by accepting sufferings and surrendering to the Lord, will take us to freedom. So if you want liberation or freedom, we need to accept the sufferings that comes to our life and surrender it to the Lord. Understand that it is coming from the Lord to change us, and then with that mindset, serve Bhagavan better. And Bhattadiri knows this very well, and he also has that courage. So Bhattadiri is already a realized soul. He knows this very well and he has the courage, but he is using this sloga to make us also aware of that, right? So Bhattadiri is showcasing the thought of ordinary beings like us. In our eyes, we see people without devotion to the Lord enjoying, and the ones with devotion facing hardships. However, we should never be the ones to judge someone else's bhakti or lack of bhakti and complain about it. That is the key point that we need to understand from this sloga. And we should use the situations in our life, the hardships in our life, to get more closer to Bhagavan, just like how Prahlada did it. So the best example is that of Prahlada. And what we need to understand is that Bhagavan is dispassionate to his bhakta. Bhagavan doesn't have any Bheda Bhava. He is dispassionate to all his bhaktas. Every being that is born in this world is a bhakta of Bhagavan, for Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is dispassionate to his bhakta, even to those who are approaching him with bhakti, and also to those who approach him with hate or fear. He gives moksha to all. Bhagavan's true nature is to give moksha. He will give moksha to everyone who approaches him. And that is the examples of Prahlada, Kamsa, and Hiranyakashipu. And the one for us to emulate is the example of Prahlada, where we surrender our sufferings to Bhagavan, which is what Bhattadiri is trying to do in his case. Moving on to the last sloka of Dashaka 3, sloka 10.
किमुक्तैर्भूयोभिस्तव हि करुणा यावदुदीयात् अहं तावद्देव प्रहितविविधार्थप्रलपितः पुरक्लिप्ते पादे वरद तव नेष्यामि दिवसान् यथा शक्ति व्यक्तं नतिनुति निषेवा विरचयन्. വളരെ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് എന്ത്? ഭക്താഭീഷ്ടങ്ങൾ നൽകുന്ന ഭഗവാനെ, നിന്തിരുവടിയുടെ കരുണ ഉണ്ടാവുന്നതുവരെ ഞാൻ പലവിധം ആവലാതി പറയലെല്ലാം ഉപേക്ഷിച്ച് മുൻപിൽ വിളങ്ങുന്നവനായ നിന്തിരുവടിയുടെ തൃപ്പാദങ്ങളിൽ കഴിവുപോലെ നമസ്കാരം, സ്തുതി, ഭജനം എന്നിവ ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് ദിവസങ്ങളെ കഴിച്ചുകൂട്ടും. തീർച്ചയാണ്.
So, in the previous sloka, Bhattathiri, in a subtle way, showed a complaint that typical bhaktas do, and Bhattathiri is also making fun of Bhagavan because of his devotion. He's making a small fun to Bhagavan. Now he's in the next sloka. He's correcting himself. He's saying the actual fact here in sloka 10. He says, "Deva, O Lord," and also he addressed Bhagavan as Varada, who is the bestower of all the boons that we seek. Bhagavan Guruvayoorappa. He says, "Kim uktaihi bhuyobihi." What is the use of mere saying again and again? The statement that he just said, why am I suffering? Why are the others not suffering? All these statements, these are not the things that we should tell Bhagavan. Yes, definitely we can tell our complaints to Bhagavan, but we should rise beyond that state. At some point, we should rise beyond that state to a state where we know that this is coming from Bhagavan and we'll accept it and we'll serve Bhagavan better. So he's now making the point, Bhattathiri is now making the point that we all should understand as bhaktas, there is no use of these baseless talks that typical people with desires, they typically do these kind of baseless talks. That is, Bhagavan, give me blessings, Bhagavan, give me that, give me this, Bhagavan, take me out of this pain, why is the other one not having sufferings? All these baseless talks I am stopping. Bhattathiri is saying, what is the use of merely saying again and again all these things? What he is now saying is that Tava hi karuna, thy compassion indeed. What I need is your compassion, which will definitely come to me. He knows that. So there is no need to make these unnecessary complaints, which I should not do. Bhattathiri is saying, so Tava hi karuna, thy compassion, yavat udiyat, till it arises, till that compassion, Bhagavan's grace, until when the time until which I get that grace. It might take years, it might take several decades, I don't care. Till when it arrives, I will continuously meditate on you. That's the point that Bhattathiri is saying. Okay, so instead of making complaints, Bhattathiri is saying that yavat udiyat, till that compassion arises, aham tavat, till then I, prahida vivida arda pralabidaha, I will give up lamentations of all kinds. Till then, I will not make any such unnecessary complaints, which is not what a bhakta should do. A bhakta should not spend their time in making unnecessary complaints and comparisons. That Bhattathiri now is correcting it in the sloka 10, the point he said in the last sloka, because he is very confident that he will receive this grace. He is very confident that Bhagavan will definitely bless him, and that confidence is what is allowing him to move forward in life, which is the confidence that all bhaktas should have. They should have that confidence that Bhagavan will definitely help them to take them out of their physical and mental sufferings. And for that, Bhattathiri is basically saying that you should have patience. Therefore, patience is one of the greatest virtues that is needed, and he will use his time to keep his mind concentrated on Bhagavan's bhajanam. That means he will keep his mind fully concentrated on Bhagavan in this time period until that grace from Bhagavan comes to him. And the point is that a true bhakta will never complain and compare. With that mindset, Bhattathiri is going to focus on Bhagavan, and he's now going to say how he is going to do it. So he says, Puraha klupte tava pade, at thy feet which are before me. That means Bhattathiri is witnessing Bhagavan's feet, Guruvayoorappan's feet, right? He's saying, he'll focus fully onto your feet, Guruvayoorappa. Yada Shakti, to the best of my ability, according to my capacity. So Bhattathiri is already suffering, with ailment. We all are probably in the situation. We have some ailment in our life, both physical and mental. But Bhagavan has always given us some capacity to still focus our mind to Bhagavan. So we should use that opportunity to serve Bhagavan or to focus on Bhagavan. And Bhattacharya is saying that this with the Shakti that he has now, with the best of his abilities, he will focus on Bhagavan's feet to serve Bhagavan, continuously contemplate on Bhagavan. He's saying how he will do it. He says, Nadi, Nudi, Nisheva. That means he will do prostrating. So with his body, he will continuously prostrate to Bhagavan. That means he will, basically what means is, he will carry himself. He will live in this world with a mindset of self-surrender to Bhagavan. Right? That is the meaning of prostrating. When we say prostrating, means we are surrendering ourselves completely to Bhagavan. This body, we are surrendering it completely to Bhagavan as Bhagavan's itself, and we will serve Bhagavan. So he will prostrate to Bhagavan. He says, I will sing your praises, sing the praises of Guruvayoorappan. That means with our mouth we will continuously chant Bhagavan's name, talk about Bhagavan's glories, praise Bhagavan, chant his names, and through that I will be worshipping you, which includes worshipping with your hands. That means doing a puja, whatever activities. So we saw this before also. Whatever activities we do in our day-to-day life, we do it as an offering to Bhagavan. If we are doing something that we don't like, still we do it as an offering to Guruvayoorappan. This is, I'm doing it for you, Guruvayoorappa. Let you give me the correct reward for this, right? So with that mindset, we with our surrendering our sense organs and mind to Guruvayoorappan, Virajayan, I'll perform my activities. I'll perform myself. My conduct, my day-to-day conduct will be like this, where I'll be in a state of fully surrendered to Bhagavan. That is called Atma Samarpanam to Bhagavan. To Bhagavan, and here Bhattacharya is saying to Bhagavan's feet, which Bhagavan's feet is that end goal, that samadhi state is to reach that feet of Bhagavan. That is what our main priority goal has to be. So Bhattacharya is saying that he will conduct himself so that he attains that feet. And he will do it how? Nishe Neshyami Divasan. I shall spend my days. It will be done every day until I get your grace. So it might take forever to get that grace, but until I get your grace, I will continuously do this. This will be my day-to-day life. This is my daily routine. I will continuously chant your names. I will prostrate to you. I will worship you, and I will conduct myself as an offering to you. And this is Vyaktam. This is certain. This is how I will do. And Bhattacharya is 100% sure that if he conducts himself like this, he will reach Bhagavan, he will realize the Lord Guruvayoorappan, and will also attain that eternal bliss. The eternal bliss that we get when and in this state, all the sufferings will be eradicated. We will no more be attached to any of our sufferings, because our mind and our self is fully attached to Guruvayoorappan. So that is the state of eternal bliss, which is called Atma Samarpanam to Bhagavan. So in this last sloka, Bhattacharya is emphasizing how a bhakta should, a perfect devotee should behave to realize Guruvayoorappan. So with that, we end the third Dashakam of Narayaneeyam. If there were any mistakes, we apologize. We would like to, Anju and I would like to offer this session to the lotus feet of our Ponna Guruvayoorappan. Narayana Guru Bhagavan Namaste. Guruvayoorappa.